Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. Guys, listen, I'm your host, Melvin Mars. Listen, we have a phenomenal show for this evening. We have a young man with me, guys. You guys will say this is somewhat of a family reunion because we have a young man with me this evening. I'm gonna call him Dr. Patrick Dwayne Stewart. Now, Patrick is a former student of mine, former athlete of mine. I was just telling him a little while ago. He and I were talking about some things. Now, some of you guys may know Patrick as a basketball player. Patrick was a heck of a wide receiver. Unfortunately, he got hurt and didn't get a chance to finish some of the things that he started in high school. He did a great job. But listen, let me tell you a little bit about Patrick, guys. And before I say a little bit about Patrick, we want to again, May is always Mother's Month. Yeah, you guys have come and watch my show all the time. I tell you, May is Mother's Month. This is designated as Mother's Day. So we do want to say Happy Mother's Day again to those mothers. And also, you guys know how strong I feel about domestic violence. And we are advocating today, that you understand, I'm wearing this shirt, that it only takes one pledge to end domestic violence. Now, how can we love our mothers and love our sisters and love our wives and girlfriends, etc., if we commit domestic violence against them or we allow it to be committed? So I want to ask you guys to commit to that thought, is that it only takes one pledge to end domestic violence. Now, listen, let's jump right into this show. Now, Dwayne, I'm going to call him Dwayne and mess with him because I'll never call him Dwayne. Patrick is a great and phenomenal young brother. And guys, I want you to listen to a few things about Patrick, and he's going to share more with you as we get started. But now understand this. He's a USAF, United States Air Force Phase 2 Supplemental and Advanced Medical Training Director. He was in active duty for 18 years. He's now retired. He's Associate Minister at the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. His scholastic history includes an associate degree in allied health, community health of the Air Force. He is an associate degree instructor of technology and military science at the Community College of the Air Force as well. Now, some of his volunteer history: Hope for the Hood, San Antonio Food Bank, Haven for Hope, Antioch Community Transformation Network, San Antonio Cares, Boys and Girls Club San Antonio, True Love Waits, Rites of Passage, Youth United Against Drugs and Gangs, United Way Combined Federal Campaign, and SWEEP, SWEEP, over San Antonio. And I'm sure Patrick will share with us what some of those acronyms stand for. And also, he has a personal mission statement, and that personal mission statement is, let us be light. Now, he has listed here some long-term and short-term goals, and I'll ask Patrick to elaborate on that a little bit for us if he feels so inclined. But Patrick Dwayne Stewart, I want to welcome you, sir, to the Nobody Asked Me Guys show.
Hey, Coach, what's going on? It's a pleasure to be here finally. I feel like I've been waiting to get on here, dog. I'm excited, and I just want to say thank you for inviting me on and having me alongside of you. I just want to thank you for being the light that you are, and have been for quite so long. Not only for the hundreds and thousands that you reach, but for me personally, I appreciate that, and I'm excited to be on this show today.
You're so kind, and the check is in the mail, but with this coronavirus, it may be a little delayed, but the check's in the mail.
All right.
So listen, Pat. If you will, if you just give us a little tidbit. Now, as you told the audience already, that you've already officially retired from the Air Force, but I know that you have an LLC and you're doing some things right now. And if we can talk about that just a little bit, because we have so much to cover, and I know our audience is going to be excited. So let's get it rolling.
So one of the things I'm doing right now is employment-wise. The beauty of the military sometimes is we get the ability to go out the door and come back in the door. So I retired the ceremony in June, but my official retirement was in September, 1 September 2019. I took a little time off, spent some time with family, just enjoyed that break, not doing anything. But I actually went right back to work in December of 2019 at the same spot, pretty much, at the Medical Education Training campus in San Antonio, Texas, over at Fort Sam Houston. It is the largest consolidated medical training in the world. So we do all training. At one point in time, for those who may be veterans or just those who know about military service or just medical training anyway, the Air Force, Navy, Army all had separate trainings, but someone down the road said, you know what, let's put all these things together. We're doing the same training, we're doing the same mission medically wise, so let's put it all together, and they did. And in 2010, they set up the Medical Education Training Campus. I've been blessed to be with the campus since the time it stood up. So I'm a plank owner, as they call it. So I started off initially in the program still. I was working with the Air Force medics, combined that program. I was able to stand that program up together, and we combined with the Navy corpsmen. So we were able to work together, and that's a whole nother story in itself as we talk about this Shreveport connection, right? So one of my teaching partners and who this Navy chief and I, we ran our team, but the Navy chief was actually a Booker T. Washington graduate from Shreveport, Louisiana. And let me tell you on that, if anybody's from Booker T or Shreveport is listening, we had the highest number of Dean's List graduates every time we graduated a class. So that's just a kudos on to what we're doing education-wise. So that campus, again, has been stood up now going on 10 years. I retired, but I went right back in the door, and now I am the lead faculty management contractor. So what I do is all of the faculty management, all of the instructors. We actually have two different campuses on one campus. So it's a campus, but we're two branch affiliates. We're the Community College of the Air Force and the College of Allied Health and Sciences. So we actually make sure that all of those instructors have all of their credentialing and all the certifications that they need in order to stand on that podium and deliver information to your youngsters as you send them to us. So that's what we do.
Fantastic. And let me say to you something that you did not know. Most coaches that children, young people get are health and PE majors. I was a health major, and I have a master's degree in health as well. So it's good to hear that you're in the medical field. I at one time thought about being a physician, but Pat, let me tell you, I thought about all of that chemistry and all that. I was like, man, I am not ready for that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So listen, let's talk a little bit about your training during the Air Force. You and I talked earlier before coming on air about your interest in obviously in college and that kind of thing, but something prompted you to decide maybe to go military. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Let me give you this piece before I even do that. Let me share this with you to set it up. I'm in basic training, and during the basic training, my training instructor, my TI, comes in, and they're doing this time our filming where our class comes in. It's kind of like before you graduate, we do all this filming and we do the pictures for our yearbook that we can remember these moments, right? And the guy came around with the camera and he said, okay, I'm gonna film you. You tell me your name, where you're from, tell me why you joined. So when he filmed it, he said, what's your name? I said, Patrick Stewart, Shreveport, Louisiana, and I joined for my education. Well, my TI was a real hard guy, right? So he says, time out, stop. And he pulls me to the side and he says, look, you got to give them more than that. He said, you got to tell them. He said, these people want to hear why you joined. And I was like, okay. He said, yeah, you got to get patriotism and blah, blah. And I said, oh, gotcha. All right, cool. So cameras go back to rolling, and they say, okay, tell us your name, where you from, why you joined. I said, my name is Patrick Stewart. I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I joined to pay for my education and to serve my country. So what am I saying? When I joined the Air Force, it was the farthest thing from my mind. So I had no idea that I was going to be joining the Air Force. I did not want to join the military. That was not in my plan. But while I was at Grambling State University one day hanging out with some guys, we started talking about debt. We started talking about student loans. And as these young men and women were all sharing, we're in this room and we're sharing, they start talking about their debt and 20,000 in and going into 30,000. And I'm thinking to myself, Lord, I do not want to be in this type of debt, because I'm only sitting at a time like maybe 6K in student loans, right? And I said, no, it's time to go. I was playing basketball with the intramural team with the Air Force ROTC with my cousin Demetrius Stewart and all those guys, Cicely Levenstein and Chris Through, and we were just having a good time. But I was able to walk with these ROTC guys on a daily, just kind of pick their brains. My uncle, who was my biggest influence, Uncle Richard Patrick Hall, who I'm named after, he was an Air Force Academy graduate. And he and I would have these conversations all the time. So I got a chance to talk to him over the Christmas break. But what happened was, Coach, my mom, and anybody that's familiar from where I'm from, what we do is in Shreveport, Calvary Baptist Church, Pastor Gant, they do this 72-hour prayer vigil leading up into New Year. So here it is, Christmas break. They're doing this Christmas leading up into New Year's, and I'm not going. So mom is like, oh, you're gonna come one night? I'm like, no, I'm good. Every night, Coach, I'm getting G-Fly. I'm getting up there, getting ready to do my thing, and going out every night, right? So on the night of the 31st, December 31st, 1996, I got dressed. Bam, I'm ready to go out, and I'm driving. I'm driving, and I'm making a left, and I'm making a right. I'm making a left, and I'm on my way to the club. And after so many turns, this car is almost driving itself. I ended up parking at Calvary Baptist Church that night. I walked in just before midnight, and I walked down to the altar, and I turned my life back over to Christ. And when I did that, when I returned back to school in January of '97, I walked back in to my house. Got a chance to see all my old friends, but what I recognized was when I turned my life over, it was me who's supposed to change, right? So I made a phone call to some buddies of mine, Breon Payne and a couple of my guy Brandon, and I said, hey man, do me a favor, come get me right quick. And they came and picked me up because they hadn't went back to school yet. And when they came and picked me up, they take me back to Shreveport. They said, so when do you need us to bring you back? I said, I'm not going back. I left everything at the house. I called my uncle. I said, look, I'm going to join the Air Force. He said, don't make a move. I said, okay, sure, I won't. The next morning I get up, I go to the recruiter. I walk into the recruiter's office. He's trying to recruit me. I said, cut your spiel. When can I leave? I was ready to go. And that was my joining the Air Force story. I mean, it was just me converting my life over, recognizing that I didn't want debt in my life, and just making a decision just to move. And when I joined, I can tell you 22 years later, it was the best move of my life.
So, as you share that, as you share your Air Force story, and we're going to talk about the progress that you've made. Now, you alluded to the fact that you are from Shreveport, Louisiana, and you alluded earlier, you said about the area I'm from. Now, that's where you and I met, from the MLK area in Shreveport. And as we know, the area is no different from anywhere USA. However, there are those that would like you, me, and everybody else to think that is somehow some kind of alien place in Shreveport, Louisiana. But we do know that it's definitely not without its challenges.
Yes.
And with being from an area where some people disparage simply because of their own dislike, have no real knowledge of the area, no real knowledge of the people. And I will stop and say this. I tell my wife all the time, I call you guys my kids. And I tell her all the time, that's one of the best places I've ever worked. Some of the greatest kids I've ever worked with. They're just super. So with all of that stated, and with the attitude of others that have never had any contact with the kids from your area, and who make all of these statements about the Cooper Road kids this and the Cooper Road kids that, you obviously and so many thousands of others have refuted all of those negative aspersions that have been laid out there. What was that journey like growing up in that area?
Coach, the Cooper Road is a special place. Cooper Road, USA is definitely a special place, and there are a lot of special people there. It's the island, the road, whatever you want to call it. It is a special place, MLK area. There are some great people who have come from Shreveport, from the Cooper Road. There are some greatness still happening there. There's the unfortunate, and I see it in a lot of cities, being able to travel, right? Where what we do is we separate each other, where we have to divide our greatness, right? You have the Cooper Road, Lakeside, Allendale, Queensboro, Motown, Cedar, whatever, right? And we're made to kind of divide our greatness, and we're made to stay away from each other, right? So, and we create these barriers where we can't celebrate each other. And I think that was one of the things. When I got there, I can tell you, there's a meme going around now where it says where you go somewhere and somebody doesn't want to date you or doesn't want to deal with you because you're from a certain place. And at the time, that was kind of like, it blew my mind. I'm like, you're a person, I'm a person, and we're gonna, not, meet in a common ground because of a neighborhood. It blew my mind. And that was the young people. But the thing about it, once you got past that, then you could actually go to a parent's house, right? And now you're there at a parent's house, and some young lady is introducing you to their parent, and then they ask you, so where are you from? And, it's like, well, bam, it's over. They may be cordial to you while you're there, but then it's gone. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people missed out on the ability to meet great people, especially from the Cooper Road, because they put up walls that never should have been. And we ourselves have to drop walls too, because in order to build, we're going to have to drop walls all around, because we can't help each other if we all have walls up.
And that is so bad, because we as human beings, it's really, across the nation, especially those of us of color, have found reasons to buy into the analogy that areas and individuals in those areas should be, quote, separated by our oppressor. And which is another show, and get on that. Listen, let's talk a little bit about your high school days, because I know that you were an athlete. I know that person. I know that you come from a family of athletes, father who was an athlete, coach at high school in Grambling. I'm not sure which one you'll tell me. And when you came out for me, that was against some people's wishes. I won't call it the names. You can call it if you like. But I was so happy to have you out there, man. And I didn't know that you were such a great receiver. And unfortunately, the injury bug kind of hit you. So can we talk a little bit about your high school days and some of your coaching? Are you playing team sports and some of the things that maybe caused you to not want to participate anymore, or to want to continue to participate?
I always enjoyed sports growing up. I always loved sports growing up. I mean, what kid doesn't, right? Unfortunately for me, what people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is going into high school, I actually quit sports. I was not going to play anymore. So I know a lot of people get a chance to watch this Last Dance, right, by Michael Jordan. And they've seen this Michael Jordan. Did you know that Michael Jordan got cut his sophomore year? And then, you get this motivation, right? Well, that's a good thing. I'm happy that Michael Jordan was able to self-motivate himself. But what we also saw was that his mother told him, look, you got to work extra hard this summer. Well, what does that have to do with me? What people don't know is I played football and basketball my 7th and 8th grade years too. And I worked hard in those sports. But my dad, who I didn't really have a close relationship with at all, happened to be my 8th grade coach. And going into 8th grade, I just knew I was going to play because I had worked harder in football. But I actually was put to the bench when I got to the 8th grade. So he did not play me. And one of the most embarrassing moments of my life happened during that year. was because he wasn't playing me. My friends knew that he wasn't playing me. It was always, you know, like, man, what's going on with this guy and his dad? Because I never badmouthed my dad. I never talked about him bad. I always showed respect for my father. But what he did was that was hurtful to me was during one game. It was toward the very end of the season. Now I haven't played at all, and people are wondering, but they're not really saying anything, right? And coach, what he does is we're out of timeouts, and he says, man, we got to just do something. So he grabs me out of the blue and he says, go in and fake an injury. All right. Fake an injury so we can get a timeout. Right. Well, guess what? He wants me to go in for the cornerback, who is the closest side to the field for me. Right. So when I get ready to go in for the cornerback and tap him out because I'm going to go fake an injury. Right. What happens is the play goes the other side of the field, the running play. So now I'm on my horse, man, and I'm going across the field as fast as I can. I'm talking about midway through, they blow the whistle, and I just go fall on the pile, and the referees, the other players are looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And it hurt. It was hurtful for me because my friends, the refs, the other coaches were like, what's up, dude? What? You aren't hurt. But he set me up for failure. That's how I looked at it. So I was extremely upset. I was disappointed. I didn't want to be on the field anymore. So I was done. I was done with football. Going into basketball that year, again, I had worked really hard. I just knew I was going to make the team again, and I was going to be more. I was looking for more playing time. But when I got to that, he cut me from the basketball team. So when he cut me, though, he told me, oh, don't worry about it. If anybody fails off the team, you'll be the first alternate, right? So that happened, and 2 people failed off the team. 2 people failed off the team. 2 new kids came into the school. He gave both of them my position. I was done. I had given up on sports. So when I got to Green Oaks, my freshman year, people did not know this story. They didn't know. My brother was pretty much the only one that knew how I felt. And I just wasn't going to play sports. But for basketball, my 9th grade year, this guy, my guy, Laveldro Simmons, my boy Breon, we would play in the gym during PE, and he would say, "Man, you got to come out and play." And I'm like, "Man, nope, not gonna play." And they had already started the season, maybe like 9th grade, maybe 15, 17 players on the team. Still wasn't gonna play. So finally, Coach Tisdom at the time was the 9th grade coach, and he said, "Look here, man, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a chance to try out." And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even tell you I wanted to try out, so what are you talking about? But come to find out, Laveldro had went to him and said, "Look here, man, we need this guy on the team. I want him on the team." And he spoke up for me. So on Laveldro's push, I went on out there, and probably about maybe 4 to 5 games in, well, not even 4 to 5 games, 3 to 4 games in, I was in rotation. I was back feeling good. I was back out hooping, and I was loving life. And I'm appreciative to that guy always. I love Laveldro, I love Bree. And he didn't know at the time what he was doing, but he was filling in a gap that had been caused, or filling in a wound that had been caused by my father. So I encourage any young man or older man, just speak life. If you're able to be in a position where you can help somebody and encourage them along the way, it doesn't have to be a certain age, just do it. And I appreciated him, and that's what he did for me. Now, on the flip side, there was a football. But I didn't want to go out for football because I was still bitter, right? And nobody said anything to me. So finally, this guy, he comes in and he's talking to me, man, this guy named Coach Lars. And he was always smiling and encouraging me and everything else. I'm like, man, I'm not. And he was like, man, you can run. And he was always encouraging. I said, man, there's something about this guy. And you asked me to come out for football. I don't know if you remember that or not, but when you asked me to come out,
yeah, I definitely remember.
I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going. And I went out, and I felt like I found a piece of me that had died. Yeah, I felt like I woke up a piece of me that had died. It was good to be out there hitting, getting hit. I loved it. So I appreciate you, Coach, for your encouraging words. You didn't know that's what you were doing at the time, but there are wounds that, as men, we have wounds that we acquire over time, that sometimes what we do is we don't do anything but dress it up, make it look good, and keep on moving. We might call it swag. We might call it, pimp. We may call it whatever it is. It's not. It's a wound, and it needs to be healed. And I think for a man like yourself, and at the time a young boy like Bree, for stepping in and encouraging me in a place that I didn't, that I was trying to hide from the world.
That's powerful, man, and thank you for sharing. And let me show you, when you see me looking up or looking away, I have some other monitors up here, because I have some other monitors, and I have a young man, Julius, from Syracuse, New York. And Julius is saying, first of all, he's saying great, but Julius is saying, and this is kind of a tough question. He said, what kind of dad does that to his son? This is Julius. And before you answer Julius, I want to invite Julius to come on and FaceTime and ask Patrick this question yourself. But Julius, you have to go through Google Chrome and come into the room. You can't ask him from where you are now. You have to come into the room to ask him. But I have asked him your question. So, Brother Pat, if you will, and also one more thing, we'd like to share with our guests that are with us, guys. If you want to come in and FaceTime with Patrick, please come into the room, into the Get Vocal room, and you can take one of those cameras and you can FaceTime Patrick. And I'm sure Patrick can't see these, but I'm sure he appreciates the thumbs ups and the hearts that are going up on these monitors, and I'm sure he appreciates that. So I will let him get to Julius's question. Julius, but still feel free to come in if you like. So Patrick, again, Julius was asking, how, he said, what kind of dad does that to his son? And I don't know if he expects you to answer for your dad, but that's Julius's question.
Well, Julius, I can't answer for him, but I'll answer for him. I will answer for him. And I'll encourage anybody that's listening right now. My dad, I often refer to him when I say to him, I tell anybody, my dad was a good dad to a whole bunch of other kids. He was a great coach for a whole bunch of other kids. He was a great father to his family that he eventually he would marry and have other kids. So there are siblings out there that I don't have a relationship with, but guess what? They have a good dad. All right. So I'm not dogging him out at all. He made a decision. He made a decision that separated him from us. He made a decision now, Julius, that I have a 5-year-old, right? And he doesn't have a relationship with a great grandson that I have. You see what I'm saying? So he was a great guy to a whole bunch of other kids, just not me. That's what kind of dad he is. But guess what, Julius? That dad exists in every community, every city around this U.S., unfortunately, especially when it comes to African-American men, a lot of times, African-American men. That is the unfortunate story that we can claim sometimes. Now, it happens in other cultures as well, but we're talking about us, all right? We're talking about us. My dad was an educated man. So how does an educated man do that? He does it no different than the uneducated man, all right? Because there is a decision that you make on whether you want to raise your child or not. It's a decision. It's a decision to stay. It's a decision to go. It's a decision to step in, and it's a decision to step out. Now, at the same time, guess what, Julius? I had the ability to make that same decision, all right? But I could have be so hurt by what he did that's my focus, and I lose focus on what I'm trying to do with my family. I could not do that. I could not do that. And a lot of fathers make the decision to stick and stay. And not just stick and stay in a marriage or just a relationship with the mother, but to stick and stay to raise their child. So did he have the pressures that I did growing up? Sure he did. Did he have women pressures and all that good stuff? I'm sure he did. He was a handsome guy, right? Look at me. I'm just kidding. But no, you got to put some life to that thing and understand that when we talk about sin and how it affects us, man, that thing can come at you in so many different ways, man, and it'll take you right on off of your path. I chose to keep on going forward. And again, other men, stepped in and helped heal some wounds that he didn't. So I hope that makes sense to you. But when I say he's a good guy, he's a good guy to a whole bunch of other people.
Making sense to him because he's sending your thumbs up and hearts. And listen, you partially answered Kevin. We have a young man, Kevin, from Baltimore, Maryland. And Kevin was asking, just as you was explaining, Kevin was asking, did the way your father treated you influence the way you treat yourself?
Definitely. It's everything. Because I think about everything that I missed out on, Kevin. Is Kevin or is it Julie? No, it's Kevin. Kevin in Baltimore, right?
Yeah. Kevin's in Baltimore. Julia's in Syracuse, New York.
So Kevin, it affected everything for me. When my son was born, there was no way that I was going to leave a man child out there uncovered. That was my biggest thing. I was not going to leave him uncovered. Dr. Miles Monroe, great author, great preacher. He wrote a book on fatherhood, and one of the things that stood out to me in reading that book was we have the unique. Think about this. We as men, we have the unique position of taking on the title of father, right? That's the relationship that God calls himself, right? Father. And we take on that same name. So the responsibility is there for us. But in the African American community, oftentimes we say, I'm the author, God is the author and the finisher of our faith, right? God being the author and finisher of our faith. So we take on as men the role of father. We are the author and the finisher of our child's faith, all right? Training up a child, how they should go. We're the author and the finisher. Too many black men are authors and not finishers.
Wow, so powerful, man. Again, obviously, thumbs up and hearts up. And listen, as you mentioned, Dr. Miles Monroe, Sharissa Monroe, Dr. Miles' daughter, has appeared as a guest on the Nobody Asked Me Guy show several months ago. Yeah, and we are well aware of that, but I also have an artist that I used to work with. His name is Carlos Sese, that was Dr. Miles Monroe's primary vocalist.
Oh, wow.
That I used to work with as his manager. So and my wife has been reading Dr. Miles Monroe for years. As a matter of fact, she introduced me to his work. I was not. So as you share Dr. Miles Monroe, man, he's certainly a powerful piece. And listen, I don't want to hold you all night, Pat, but if we can, you have mentioned the father. Let's segue into a little bit of your ministry walk as we reference the father. Whatever you're comfortable sharing about that.
Well, for me, my ministry walk officially started in 2009, where I accepted my calling at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church under then the senior leadership of Dr. E. Thurman Walker, under co-pastor Dr. Kenneth R. Kemp. Dr. Walker later that year in 2009 would succumb to cancer and go home to glory. And Dr. Kemp pretty much walked me the whole way through. Even when he was battling cancer, Dr. Kemp was always there for me. And he's my senior pastor now. And I'm gonna tell you this. For those of us who believe, right? For those of us who believe, the Bible tells us that he's gonna give us visions, right? When the Holy Spirit came upon, he was gonna give a vision. Well, I always had these visions. I would always have these visions, and I knew I was running from my call for years. I knew I was running from my call, and I always had a vision, Coach. Check this out, of surrendering to my call. And when I surrendered to my call, it was always at the foot of Dr. Martin Luther King, right? I was always right there at Dr. Martin Luther King, and I could see myself doing ministry at the feet of Dr. Martin Luther King. But it wasn't the Dr. King. It was actually a statue. It was a statue. So I was running all these years, man, and I just knew that I was going to be at home, because for those that don't know, the Cooper Road has this awesome statue at the end of the Cooper Road of Martin Luther King. So this is the statue that I'm seeing in my vision. But I'm running and I'm running. 2003, I go back to San Antonio. So I'm actually thinking I'm running a little bit more, right? I'm running a little bit more. It's okay. But when I finally stopped running and just answered the call, Antioch Baptist Church is actually located on the east side of San Antonio, and that is I call it the Cooper Road of San Antonio. All right. So one day we're down the street and we're doing street ministry. We're doing street ministry. I love getting out in the hood. I love getting out and actually meeting people. I appreciate what goes on within the four walls. I love food bank. I love evangelism. I love knocking on doors, not to just say, hey, have you heard of the Lord? I want to meet you at your need, because that wasn't what Jesus did, right? He found needs and he met them, all right? That's kind of how I live my life. So we're out ministering one day, and on the corner of New Braunfels in San Antonio, Texas, New Braunfels and Houston Street. I look up in the middle of my ministry. I'm loving life, right? I can just feel the spirit upon me, man. And I look up and I realize that the same statue that was on the Cooper Road was right there in San Antonio. And I'm seeing this vision and I'm like, wow. You know, God is amazing. So I've enjoyed my time in ministry. I've been thankful at being an educator, right? Yourself. We do a lot of growth, personal development, professional development among the ministers. So we're always pushed by Dr. Kemp and the leadership there. The spans, that's what I call them, the spans. Reverend Kemp, the daughter, these Reverend Huff and so many others who are grilled down in education. So we make sure that we come and we're reading something and we're doing something, not just in the word, but we're actually still making sure that we're grounded and rooted and we know what's going on in the world that we're going to be ministering to. So I enjoy ministering. It's also been very effective, and even in my time in the military, where I've been called off to the side, and unbeknownst to me, people just saying, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Sure." You know, we're gonna talk medical, right? It's like, "Hey, I'm having this issue," and I'm like, "Whoa, okay, all right, God, this one is for you." You know, I can tell you, you know, some medical stuff, but God, this one is on you. So. Because I never want to make sure, I always want to make sure that I'm not telling you anything that God doesn't want you to do.
Wow, that's great. Well, listen, Pat, I don't want to saying this because I'm really excited about talking with you. There's so many things here, and I'm really just excited at the questions and the thumbs and the hearts that are going up from my audience. And if I have not shared with you, we have watchers on here from South Africa, Venezuela, Germany, from the UK. They're all over the place, and you're just getting thumbs ups and hearts everywhere, and we're just very, very pleased with that. Now, with that stated, and as the things you shared about your ministry, about your life, is there any parting statement before we find out how possibly one can contact you, etc.? Is there any final statement you'd like to leave, or another topic subject you'd like to address before closing out this segment?
I would really say just make sure that when you do something, that you're doing it to the glory of God. All right, that you're being God led. I talked earlier about those walls coming down. You can't lead if you're putting up walls. I mean, you can't see where you're going. Drop the walls and trust God in your movement. I talked about, you know, when I joined the Air Force, I didn't have to wait on anybody because I heard from God. There's something that God has specifically given you. And let me tell you, you don't have to go get 100 other likes or okays, or what do you think about this? If God is giving it to you, and you know He gave it to you because you feel it every day, you hear it, you hear His Spirit. He doesn't have to confirm through lightning bolts and everything else. He's giving it to you. Just trust. Just trust. When I left to join the Air Force, I didn't know where I was going to land. I did not care where I was going to land, because it's not enough for me to keep saying cute quotes like, bloom where you planted, and then choose where you want to be planted. All right. If you are truly going to bloom where you're planted, just land somewhere. All right. All right. Land somewhere and allow God to do the rest. I tell you, if you do that, you will find your life is so much easier and so much better. You'll find your life better. The other thing in that is, in doing it, is not only will your life be better, but you'll be able to bless others. Because you don't move when God says move, because you don't go where God says go, there's somebody specifically waiting on the blessing and the gift that God has given you in your life, in your testimony. And when you don't go to the very place that God is trying to send you, others will not be blessed. All right. Now, it won't be, maybe the place is not as bad as Nineveh, but you're no different than Jonas if you don't get on that boat and go the right way. And don't think that God is necessarily going to send a great fish and spit you out on that thing. It's not always the case. Because you don't move, others miss out. If Coach doesn't come to Green Oaks, I don't play football because no one else is encouraging me. That was his mission to come. If I'm not there in 9th grade in that Zach PE class, and Laveldro doesn't come up that step, I'm never going to join this basketball team, and I'm never going to play again. These things are not going to happen if people don't trust the move of God is having on their lives. It's that simple. Everything that God is trying to do through you is working together. So just trust Him in your movement. Trust Him in all your movements. All right? And I guarantee you, you'll be blessed, and those around you will be blessed.
Wow, man. Hey, preach it. You got storms and hearts going up everywhere over here, Pat. I can't. They're going so fast on these monsters, man. You bringing the message today, man. So listen. Yeah, wow, man. Hey, listen. That is powerful. That is very, very, very powerful. So many people, including your coach, need to hear that. And let me say this to you on record. I recently returned to Louisiana 7 years ago, and it's like, I'm serious. I came to help take care of my mother. And it's like, man, what are you doing back here? Because things are just, yeah. I was always a bull shaker, Pat, and I never really lived in Louisiana as an adult until you saw me in Green Oaks. I had only been back in Louisiana for 2 years when you first met me. And I was conflicted then, thinking about moving further, going back to other places, because it just seems to be more conducive to my mindset. And, it's what you said is very powerful. And dare I say, it's great to hear you share what you shared, because I needed to hear that again at 67 years old. So that was great. So listen, man, it's been fabulous. We want to have you back. And I certainly appreciate that. And the hands and the hearts are going up. And generally, I don't want you to be discouraged about because nobody FaceTime. Generally, they don't FaceTime. Every now and then, people will come to FaceTime. But generally, what they do is they'll put questions up in the boxes. Sometimes they'll put questions on the monitor on Get Vocal.
Good.
But many people are not physically on Get Vocal. They're on other mediums.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, it's been great. So, listen.
Coach, let me tell you something on that.
Please.
Let me tell you something on this. It's a poor preacher that needs a full house to preach to. Because if you need X amount of people in an audience to perform or do what God tells you to do, and I'm not performing. What I'm saying is, if you need a certain amount of people to say what you have to say and display your love, then you're in trouble. Because I believe in, old school, you practice how you play. And every chance I get, I don't care if it's one-on-one. Look, I'll be in the room by myself shouting myself sometimes on the goodness of God. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need an audience. I'm just enjoying this time with you, Coach. I really am. And I'm appreciative of anybody that's watching. And hopefully it blesses them. But I tell you, I don't need an audience to share how good he's been with me. And I'm just thankful to have this time with you. Don't wait for the room to fill up to do what you got to do.
Hey, fantastic. Very well said. And let me assure you, you have thousands that are watching right now. They're just not in the Get Vocal chat room.
Yeah.
So listen, how might they contact you? You know, I know sometimes we do have individuals that contact me and ask me, well, hey, listen, how can we contact the speaker you had on last week, etc.?
Yes.
Do you have a website or a email or something you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I definitely can share my email. It's thepsa@yahoo.com. That's thepsa at yahoo.com. And I don't know if they can see the name that I'm under, IMP Stewart.
Yeah.
They can see that. That's my social media tag that I use on all my pretty much all my social media, Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at IMP Stewart, but you can also follow me at Patrick Dwayne Stewart on Facebook. Patrick Dwayne Stewart, but IMP Stewart on Twitter and Instagram. By all means, reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys. I love following positive people. I love being able to meet genuine people and to share, because iron still sharpens iron in 2020. All right, 2020 does not change the fact that iron still sharpens iron. And guess what? We got to sharpen each other now, because we're in a position moving forward, coming out of COVID-19, where we're going to have some, we can't come out no dull blade. All right, can't come out no dull blades, because there are some obstacles that are waiting on us when we come out of this, and we got to be sharp when we come out of this. We have to be sharp-minded, and we have to be focused when we come out.
Absolutely. So, guys, listen, we are of the Nobody Asks Me Guy show. Again, I'm your host, Melvin Lard. And listen, guys, if you want to contact me, then you know to go to the Nobody Asks Me Guy show at gmail.com. The Nobody Asks Me Guy show at gmail.com. And you know our office number is a 24-hour number, 440-935-0374, 440-935-0374. And we want to encourage you guys to get my latest book, Mothers and Their Men, an introspective look at mothers rearing their sons. It's written from a mother and son perspective. It's not a book to tell you about parenting. It's just about some things that we take. And yet you see in the background, Dying on My Feet. When I was at Patrick School, I contracted leukemia, and the doctors gave me no chance to survive without having a bone marrow transplant. Obviously, didn't have a bone marrow transplant, and this is not what do they call those things? A hologram. This is me. So God was not ready for me yet. And on my other side, you see a book of poetry, over 100 poems, called the Brain Muscle. So feel free, guys, at any time, go to Barnes & Noble and purchase these books, or you can contact me at the address. But again, please join us next week, same time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we will have Reggie Blackwell from Professional Management Group. He's a professional sports agent out of St. Louis, Missouri. And he will be here talking to you guys about, so you think you prepared to be a professional athlete. You know, there's so many people out there that have no clue. And Red will be here, be kind enough next week to be here on the platform with us to discuss. And again, let me share with those of you that you heard Pat allude to, Dr. Miles Monroe. Jerissa Monroe was a guest on our show roughly, I think it was February, I think it was February, but you can go on YouTube and you can find that conversation as well. So guys, we want to bid you adieu, and want to thank all of you for the thumbs up and the hearts and the questions from our young men, Julius out of Syracuse, New York, and from Kevin out of Baltimore, Maryland. We want to thank you guys, and I'm sure that Pastor Stewart was a great help because you said so in your comments. So Pastor Stewart, we want to thank you so very much and we're so grateful that you took the time to have us. And we will have you back. As I said, June is Father's Month, and I'm working on some things there. And I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you again, and we'll just talk about dads and the strength of dads and what that entails, etc.
Yes.
We want to bid each and every one of you a good night. And again, Patrick Dwayne Stewart, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, Coach. Thank you on behalf of my family, Tara and Lil P. Shout out to my mom and Mother's Day. We celebrated her as well, and my mother in love, Miss Beverly Williams, down there in Gibson Coleman. So just thankful to those mothers again. Keep taking care of your mothers.
Fantastic. So Patrick, have a great night.
Hey, you too, Coach. Take care. Be blessed, everybody.